So at this point we're pretty much done with our character. He's looking pretty good. There are little details here and there that I might still want to adjust, and that's all really just depends on your character itself, your reference, and your own personal preference. So you can keep tweaking this forever, essentially, until you get it exactly how you want it. So all I'm doing right now is just kind of tweaking little vertices. And there's some spots that I probably want to work on a little bit more, just to feel better about this, like kind of fill in the cheek a little bit more, and adjust some of the other vertices in the mouth, things like that. This will just kind of give it a better facial expression and give me a little bit more range of working with it. So in this case, I'm just going to have it like that. And one of the other things I'd like to talk about is with his eye socket. Normally when you're animating or creating a model to be animated, you would leave an eye socket similar to this. But since I already sealed up the mouth, I'm probably just going to seal up this eye as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to double click that edge that goes around it. I'm going to go to Mesh, Fill Hole, and then I'm just going to go to Mesh Tools and use my Multi-Cut tool to kind of just slice through these different pieces, just so I don't have any n-gons, because you don't want that. Oops. So now that I have that eye socket sealed, I'm going to take this vertex right here and just kind of pull it outward a bit, just so when I smooth it out we have a little bit of an eye socket or eyeball in there. Another thing you could do is, if you want, you could smooth out your character's mesh by using the sculpting tools. So the sculpting tools are located right here in the sculpting tab, and I usually use them sparingly, but we could use something like our smooth tool to kind of go in and smooth out some parts of our character. Let me put it in smooth mode so you can actually see that work. And it's usually pretty good for just like softening some edges and really kind of getting in there. You could use this to model parts of the body as well, but I usually like using it for just quick touch-ups here and there, just kind of softening things out and moving them how I want them to be. But use it sparingly, because it's not always great. The next thing I'm going to do is mirror this character. So I'm just going to go into mirror just like that. I'm going to go in, let's try doing it to world. I'm going to merge my border vertices, combine them, and let's see how it looks. So it is working for the most part. We do have problems right there at the end, so if you look, it's going for a while before it snaps there, so I might end up having to fix some things there, or I might just see, let's see what not merging them does. No. So let's see how it looks this way. That looks a lot better. So I'm not going to merge my border vertices, and I'm just going to end up combining it afterwards. So it's kind of hit or miss with that mirror tool like that. It really depends on your geometry set. So now that I have this, I do have them as separate pieces still. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to go in to my front view, and I'm going to try to get a nice selection straight down the middle of my character's head. So I'm just going to go in just like that, try to get as close as possible to those vertices, just like so. And then I'm going to go to mesh and merge. Now hopefully, if it worked out nicely, yeah, it's all nice together. So we do have some problems still. As you can see, the top of his head is kind of pointy, so we are going to fix that now. And the reason why that happened is just because we haven't had as much geometry. We haven't been really tweaking things as we've been working on it. So I'm going to do that right now, and that will give us a nice rounded head. So let me actually go in. Let's see if symmetry wants to work. Yeah, so we'll use symmetry just in this case, just so it gets kind of round things off nice and even. And we're just going through and taking a couple of these vertices at a time and just putting them into place. That looks pretty good like that. I might raise these a little bit more. I'll probably end up scaling this a bit, but it all depends on the character. So that looks pretty good. Let's see what happens if we try to widen it out a little bit. So we'll go a little bit like that. That should fit his face a little bit more. This front reference photo isn't perfectly straight, so that is a bit of a problem. But in this case, we should be pretty good with what we have. I might go in with my smoothing tools. Let me just check from the side view. They are looking pretty good. I might take some of these extra vertices I have to kind of really get those back of the head details. So I'm just going to kind of move those into place just to get a really nice look. So I'm just going to go bring those into here. And we're just going to try to build this area out. You don't really have to, but in this case we will. In the matter of a character that you have hair, you kind of have to like really shape it out nicely and really see what needs to go where to get the exact shape that you want. So right now I'm just kind of going in smooth mode and fixing up these last vertices just to really get this to look nice and accurate. And while it might not necessarily match up perfectly with the reference photos, this should give us as close as we could get with these methods in getting a nice face model. So all I'm doing is just really the last kind of details to really fit everything into place. So give it a little more for the lips there. That looks good. That looks all pretty good. That looks good there. And I'm kind of liking how this is looking. So at this point we're pretty much done, and this would work as a good like starting point at least. Well, I do kind of want to fix that chin more. I'm going to use my sculpting tools for that. So let's see, can we fill that up a bit more? So yeah, I'm just using the sculpting tools in this area to kind of sculpt this a little bit more, just to kind of really fill this area in better. So all I'm really doing is just using my sculpting tools to kind of bring this out, and I'll probably go back in afterwards with the smoothing tools so it's not super sharp right there. So let's smooth this out a little bit. That might have been a little too much. Let's change our build up down by a lot. Yeah, that's better. We're just trying to keep it so it's not super pointy. That looks pretty good. Let's smooth out some areas right here a little bit. This is a lot of just kind of give and take of what you're doing. It does seem like we do have a small problem right there, so I'll go in and fix that now. So let me get off my sculpting tool. Looks like we might have missed a vertex that need to be merged. No big deal. Yeah, that fixed it up. That in a little bit more. And that's pretty much all there really is to it, to building a nice rough shape for a head model. If you want, I'll probably make more later on of different style, different characters. But in this case, we are pretty much done. And as you can see, even though I keep saying I'm pretty much done, I'm kind of going in and fixing things up a little bit at a time, because I just see little errors on my side that I kind of want to fix. But again, it all really depends on the model you're working on. And one of the last things I usually like doing is just really seeing what it looks like with a texture on it, which is a whole nother lesson in itself. But there is a quick way of seeing how it will look, at least with what you're working on. So this isn't going to work too well because of the reference photo not being perfect, but let's see what it looks like. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to go into my hypershade. I'm going to go to materials. I'm going to create a blend because my character's face is a little shiny. So I'm going to lower the specular color a little bit. Eccentricity. I'm going to increase that just so it's a little bit less shiny. I'm going to go into my color. I'm going to click on the little checkerboard pattern right here to add a node to it. I'm going to put in a file, but before I click on file, I'm going to right click. I'm going to create as projection. And then I'm going to go to where it says image, this icon right here. An image name, I'm going to go to the folder right here, and I'm going to actually look for my front view photo. I'm going to hit open. And the reason I'm doing this is because I'm going to add this as a texture to my character right now. So I'm just going to add this blend. I'll press 6, and what you see right now is a weird picture right here. What you could do is if you go back into your hypershade and go to believe it's the place 3D texture. Oh, was I wrong? Let's see. It might be your place 2D texture. Oh no, it was the place 2D, 3D texture. My mouse just didn't want to work. Okay, so place 3D texture. We could take this piece right here and we could shape this to our character. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it off X-ray. I'm going to have it show the texture. I'm just going to scale my photo so that it actually kind of layers on top of the texture. It does sometimes get a little deformed, so we might have to like mess around with it a little bit. And to do that, we're just kind of like positioning it and then scaling it so it fits properly. And in this case, it will kind of add a little bit more feature to our character. So I'm just going to try to get this to go as best as I can. There's no way it's going to be perfect every time. Oops. But it will give us a bit of an idea on how it's looking so far. And we could always adjust it to really fit our character better. And depending on how well you model this, because I did model this one pretty fast, it would come up much better than this, and we could actually use this as our texture. Let me see if I rotate this a little bit more, it should fill in better. Yeah. But that's pretty much all you really need to do to create a head. So thank you.